Alright, so we're gonna make some homemade biscuits today. So some of the ingredients are butter. We're not gonna use this whole thing. Baking soda, baking powder, and just all-purpose flour, as well as sea salt. We also need milk, which is in the refrigerator. Cast iron skillet. These make the best biscuits. That's kind of like the ingredients list. So let's get started. So the first thing is we're gonna mix the first dry ingredients together. Now you can weigh the flour to make it more accurate, but I don't. Some of the fun comes in kind of doing your own thing. So I'm doing about 2 cups of flour. I don't pat the flour, I just let it fall and then do that. So 1. I think it's, as long as you're close enough, it should work. Okay, so I just added the flour in here. Now baking powder. It's the crazy part. We need 5 teaspoons of baking powder. That's in there. Now we need some baking soda. You need about a 1/4 teaspoon, and I just kind of use my same spoon and I just go about 1/4 of it, I guess, here.
Can you tell me the difference between baking flour or baking powder?
The difference between the two? It's a great question. I have no idea. So this part is optional. You can add a little bit of sugar to your biscuits, or you don't. I think a little touch of sweetness is really nice. And I just add about a tablespoon. Alright, now that we have all the dry ingredients in here, we're gonna go to the mixer and mix it all together. So before we actually get mixing, I should start the oven. So we're gonna bake it to 425. And while that's preheating, then we'll actually start making the dough. Now we're mixing, just till the dry ingredients get to love each other in there. That's pretty much it. And then now we're gonna add the cold butter, but first we need to measure it. So if you just have like sticks of butter, you just need 6 tablespoons, which is not quite a full stick of butter, but almost. But because I have this huge honker, we are going to have to cut it, and we're going to have to use the scale to measure 6 tablespoons, which is about 85 grams. As a roll, they see them rolling. I don't know. So we're going to put the scale on. Now I've torn the plate in here.
What?
Tear. Zeroed it. This is honker butter. And you do want the butter to be cold, so this butter's been sitting in the fridge. So I need a little bit more than that. 86. Oh, so that was 91 grams, but you know, I like a little butter, so I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, 89. 49. Take out the milk. Alright, so this is what 6 tablespoons of butter looks like. Now we want to slice it into just more chunky like, because we're gonna put it in the flour and then we're gonna dry mix it. So we're not gonna add liquid to it. And so then it will become immersed with the flour. We are going to mix it. Make sure that's locked. Make sure that's locked, folks. Now we're mixing it. So we're looking for like a consistency where like the butter, the pieces of butter are kind of a little smaller, almost barely noticeable in there. I'm gonna add the salt. You need about a teaspoon of salt. All right. So that's nice. Now we're gonna go back and add the milk. So we need 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of milk. Add our milk, and we're gonna just pour it in the center, like so. And then we are going to mix it. It might be sticky too. So now in baking, it's all about knowing what a dough should look like. So sometimes you just need to add a little more flour. So like this dough is a little wet, so I'm just gonna incorporate a little more flour. So that's why sometimes people prefer to weigh their flour, is because sometimes when you measure it, you could be a little off. So the dough could either be a little drier or a little wetter, but that's all right because you can fix it by adding more liquid or adding more flour. All right, so now we're gonna go into our next step, which is forming the dough. So the dough doesn't stick. It's very soothing. So now that we got our dough formed, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pat it down to create a rectangle. So voila. So we're gonna fold it, and then we're gonna fold it. I think the oven just beeped. It's ready to bake. So we're gonna do this about 3 times. Growing up, I, for some reason, just pictured biscuits being this like super complicated like thing to make. So easy. So at this point, I am shaping it to then cut the biscuits out. So I don't have a normal cookie cutter, so I just use a clean mason jar lid, and it works. So then I just circle it. And then I press it down. And then it creates, you know, the circles. So basically then we take these And we put it around in a cast iron. So we have all this scrap. We just want to pat it down and bring it back together. And hopefully get at least 2 or 3 biscuits, more biscuits out of it. Okay, so that's ready, and so all we have to do is now put it in the oven and bake. But I always like to do the lower time frame, just to make sure everything's going smoothly, because sometimes they could be done by 10 minutes. But if they need more time, I'll just add an extra, 2 to 5, depending on how much I think they need it.
Oh, I can't see anything.
That looks lovely. Look at that.
Five out of 5 stars.
Holy moly. So, now you just watched me not only make biscuits, but talk with my mouth full. I get scolded for that. So that's it. Biscuits are pretty easy, and they're delicious, and carbs are king. So